Hello and welcome to Energizing Habits, simple strategies for a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. I'm your host, Vicki Cleary, and I guide ambitious women just like you to find more focus, more energy, and more productivity so they can thrive, whether it's in business or in life, all by tapping into sustainable habit change around nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. Are you ready? Here we go. Hello and welcome back for another episode of Energizing Habits. What a crazy past couple of weeks I've had. So I ended up having to go to Dallas for work for several days and had my annual doctor's appointment. Tell you about that in a minute, and just feel like everything's been, it's changing the seasons, right? So had my annual doctor's appointment, and I like to do the blood draw every time. So year over year, I can see, I won't have any surprises, right? So I can see like what's going on. What I didn't quite realize, maybe I didn't realize or just don't remember, in past years, that it doesn't check for vitamin D. Well, that's important for me because, so in my family, the women have tendency towards osteoporosis. My mom's going through osteoporosis right now, and it's a thing, right? And vitamin D is a key part of that as your bones are developing, as you're getting older, the whole bit. So anyway, I was talking to my doctor about it, and she says, blood test insurance doesn't typically cover for the vitamin D test. But I'm like, it sounds like an important thing to do, so I could pay for it. And she says, well, maybe they would cover it if you're having symptoms that would be, symptoms of vitamin D deficiency, such as, your hair loss, or, and she's going to tell me some other things. I was like, you can stop right there because nothing but hair comes out, right? Like I think about feeling my hair, and hair will come out. There's hair, all over the place. Just it. Can't always tell because the curly hair kind of gives it some volume and masks it, but feel like I've been, kind of shedding hair for a while, like a couple years easily. Anyway, got the blood test back. Is it a shocker? Vitamin D deficient. So now I've got to crank up. Good thing it's getting warmer outside, so I can spend some more time outside. Got to get some more natural sunlight. Got to start taking the vitamin D supplement. Got to be more, regimented about my vitamins and the nutrition. So it's just another lovely reminder that we've got to stay on top of things like that. So hopefully next year we'll have seen some improvement, that the vitamin D is not an issue, but it's going to take some work, I think. So anyway, all that to say, there's that annual doctor's appointment. And then today I did something different. I was taking a look at, and I talk about like being able to have flexibility with your schedule. Scheduling flexibility is so important to make sure that you can meet your goals. And I had to take some massive flexibility this week because, again, with all the things going on, the evenings are booked with all kinds of things. Lunch breaks where I would normally go to the gym, booked with all kinds of things. When am I going to find time to get my workouts in? At 5 a.m. apparently. So this morning I woke up about 4:20, 4:15 so that I could get to a workout. And once I was there, it was great, right? Afterwards, I was feeling a little tired, but I got my second win for the day. But I will be going to bed earlier tonight, right? So I can make sure to get my hours in. So all that fun stuff. There's always something to offer challenge and to help us grow, right? All right. So let's talk about today's topic. I wanted to tackle a topic it's not just important, it is crucial for many of us. Burnout. Now, if you've heard my story, if you've listened to me for a while, then I kind of subtly hint on my burnout experience, but I have been more, been opening up about it a bit more. It took a long time to kind of heal from the overall experience. And now I feel more comfortable being able to share about the thing. Still not a lot of details, but enough that you get the gist, right? So let's talk about what burnout is. We hear, oh, I feel burnout. Some people throw it around, but also like, I don't know that the World Health Organization has actually said it's an epidemic, but it's enough that the World Health Organization is taking note of the fact that there's a lot of people who are legitimately having what they call, what we all are calling burnout, right? So let's talk about what burnout is so that you can start to discern for yourself. Are you just stressed or are you really in burnout? Either way, you want to start mitigating that stress, but at least understand where you're at. So all that to say, burnout does get thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? So the World Health Organization, which I mentioned, they have posted on their website now, right there, looking into it. They're doing different studies about it. Their definition, so it's more than just being tired, right? And we probably all knew that. But it's they've defined it such that it's a state of chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. And this can manifest as fatigue, so feeling that really extreme tiredness, reduced performance, even feelings of negativity or cynicism towards your job. So this becomes like, oh, wow, okay. If you unpack it, workplace is specifically mentioned. It's not just like life. Not to say that people can't be overwhelmed and stressed out by life, but when it comes to the term burnout, World Health Organization is defining it such that it's around workplace, specifically stress that hasn't been successfully managed. So let's peel this back a little bit more, right? Let's peel back these layers and get crystal clear. It's more than just feeling tired or having a rough day at work. Imagine a scenario where the demands at work consistently exceed your capacity to cope. The prolonged exposure to something like this, to high levels of stress, leads to burnout. And it's not just a fleeting feeling like today I'm feeling burnout, or a couple days, right? It just could be peak, putting pressure at your capacity, but it's a persistent state that can have profound effects on your mental, your emotional, your physical well-being. So there's kind of these key dimensions, again, going back to the World Health Organization's definition. So feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. So you're not just tired, but like this bone deep exhaustion that persists, okay? Increased mental distance from your job or having feelings of negativism or cynicism related to your job. So you might find yourself being detached from your work or developing a negative outlook. And the third thing is this reduced professional efficacy, meaning that your ability to perform at work diminishes. And you might notice a decline in overall effectiveness, right? So you're sitting down at your desk to do your work and you're just not able to process the way that you used to process, or you're just not able to think through or make decisions, or whatever it is. So it is a state of chronic workplace stress that hasn't been effectively managed. Now, to truly grasp burnout, we need to touch on chronic stress. It's the ongoing, relentless pressure you experience in the workplace that surpasses your ability to cope. Chronic stress is like the slow burning fire that, when it's not addressed, actually leads to burnout. In the medical world, chronic typically means that it lasts a year or more. When it comes to stress leading to burnout, it's really more like prolonged exposure over weeks or months. I mean, that amount of stress just completely throws your nervous system out of kilter. Your sympathetic nervous system is way on edge, right? You're always in this fight or flight state. It's then creating you to be in all this, putting out all this energy. Your body's having to do all these things it's not meant to do on a long-term basis. And your parasympathetic nervous system is just way down, right? You're not tapping into it. You're not leveling out. So in a nutshell, it's the result of prolonged exposure to chronic stress, which manifests in physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion, a sense of detachment from your work, and a decline in your professional effectiveness. If you feel like this is you, if you are going through this, reach out for help, right? Whether it is a mentor at work, a boss, obviously somebody that you feel you can trust. You can work with a coach. This is what I do. I help people with through this to get to the other side. You could, friends, family. What we don't want to do is fan the flame, creating more stress. We want to find ways to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system rather than just, oh yeah, well, you have to quit your job or you have to, it's maybe, but let's get the body out of the state and then get it more regulated. And then let's make a decision. Let's make clear decisions. So let's talk about how stress impacts your health, right? So this is why we talk about stress, because it does impact our health. I mentioned the sympathetic, parasympathetic, it's all getting into the systems that happen in the body. So now that we know what burnout is, let's take a closer look at its precursor, which again is stress. We all experience stress, but understanding how it impacts our health, our life, our work is crucial for navigating the path to a healthier, more balanced life. Okay, this is all about definitions today. Definitions matter, but what is stress? So stress is the body's natural response to any demand or challenge. It's not always a bad stress. It's not always a bad thing. It can be a motivating force. In fact, there are actually two types of stress. You have eustress, EU stress, and you have distress, DI stress. Eustress is, if you want to call it quote unquote good, but it has positive effects on you. Distress, which is why we call it when you're not in a good place, you're in distress, right? Has negative effects on you. When stress becomes chronic, that's where the trouble starts. So again, that prolonged exposure, chronic stress over time. And it doesn't have to be a year. It can be months, okay? So that's the definition of stress. But let's talk about health, right? How does it impact our health? Chronic stress wreaks havoc on our body, also our minds, but let's focus in on the body here, right? So elevated blood pressure, weakened immune function. It's like a silent saboteur, really chipping away at your well-being. I mean, over time, it may not be quite so silent, but it certainly doesn't just like boom happen. It builds over time. You might experience digestive issues, headaches, even increased risk of chronic illnesses. These are all potential outcomes of having this prolonged exposure to stress. What about your impact on life, right? How's life? Well, let's zoom out on the bigger picture here. So your life being, let's define life as anything that's not work in this moment. Picture stress as a fog that clouds your ability to enjoy the present moment, okay? So you're out trying to enjoy, being at the park with your kids, and you're just feeling like you just can't connect. You just can't get there, right? It can strain relationships. It can dampen your mood and make you, dampen your mood. It can also create like massive mood swings, okay? It can make you feel like you're constantly running on a hamster wheel. It's not just about what happens at work. Stress infiltrates every aspect of our lives. But let's talk about work. When you let's address how stress can turn a once thriving career into a daily grind. I mean, think about just the dichotomy of that, right? A once thriving career, you enjoy it, you're doing great, you're climbing the ladder, whatever it is for you. to becoming a daily grind. I mean, that sounds crappy already. The persistent pressure of stress can lead to burnout, as we discussed earlier. Productivity takes a hit. Decision making becomes more challenging, and the passion that you once had dwindles, right? You no longer love your job. You no longer love what you do day to day, and you spend a lot of time there. All right. So the thing about stress is that it's an interconnected web. Health, life, work, those are not isolated components. They're threads woven into a fabric of who you are. And when one aspect is affected, right, you start to pull on that thread, the entire tapestry feels the strain, right? You can picture that. Or like if you've got a sweater, that makes me think of, now I forget the name of the group. You want to destroy my sweater. It's the name of the song. Y'all can tell me the name of the group since I've spaced on it for the moment. But pulling on that thread as I walk away, right? The whole thing starts to unravel, and then guess what? You'll soon be naked, right? Those are the lyrics to the song. So now that we can see, right, there's the stress, the work impacting or causing that stress impacting your health, right? So now let's explore the signs that indicate, that you might be on the brink of burnout and how to course correct before it's too late. So if you feel that you're already in burnout, some of these you will already see some of these things, right? But when you talk about the course correction part, then you can still try some of them. We have to take more extreme measures, but you can always start small. I mean, that's the thing. You're already burnt the freak out. Like, do you really need like extreme measures? Maybe not. Maybe you just need to take some baby steps, and maybe you need some support along the way. There's lots of varying ways in which burnout affects us. So you kind of have to see. But okay, I digress. Identifying the signs of burnout. So now let's be real. I mean, we've all had those days where we feel like we're running on empty. Okay. It happens. It happens when you're having, good days and you're just busy, but you can wear yourself out. How do you know if it's a burnout that's knocking on your door? So we want to look out for signs like persistent exhaustion, increased errors in your work, and a growing sense of detachment. So burnout doesn't announce its arrival with flashing lights. It often starts as subtle signals. The key is to pay attention to these early warning signs before they escalate into a full-blown burnout situation. Physical signs, keep an eye on what's going on with your body, right? Are you experiencing fatigue, persistent fatigue? Are you getting a full night's sleep? Or are you waking up in the night? Do you not feel rested when you wake up? Is your immune system taking a hit? Are you getting sick more often? These physical manifestations can be signals that burnout is making its presence known. The next, going on to our emotional indicators. Emotions are powerful indicators of our well-being. If you find yourself becoming more cynical, detached, or apathetic towards your work, like, hey, I no longer give a shit, right? It's time to pause and reflect. Emotional exhaustion is a common sign of burnout. Next up is your behavior. Have your work habits shifted? Are you withdrawing from social activities or finding it hard to concentrate? These behaviors, these changes in behavior can be red flags that burnout is knocking on your door. Next is impact on work performance. How are you able to continue doing your job? As ambitious professionals, we take pride in our work, right? So if you notice a decline in your performance, increased errors, feeling ineffective, or inability to make decisions, right? You're just kind of going back and forth between the options. These are clear signals that burnout might be taking a toll on your professional life. I have two more. External feedback. Sometimes the people around us see the signs before we do. If colleagues, friends, family members are expressing their concerns about your well-being or notice changes in your behavior, it's crucial to listen and consider their perspective. Now, it's also very easy to get defensive. What do you mean I have an attitude problem? What do you mean, I don't look happy? I mean, it's easy to go into this defensive mode, especially when your mind is already, jacked up on all the other things going on. Now, I'll add here that if you are seeing the signs in your teammates or other colleagues, it's important that you speak up. It may not be what they want to hear at the moment. Again, they might get defensive. But as I mentioned, others can often see the signs before we see it ourselves. Once you're turned on to the idea, or it's the light is shown, right? You are probably experiencing burnout. Once you grasp it, then you can start making the changes. It's very hard to start making changes when you're just like stuck in it and don't want to see, don't want to hear, right? Okay, last one, the importance of self-awareness. This is like wrapping all of this up, right? Because you've got to be able to identify burnout. It's dance between your self-awareness and these external observations. It requires tuning in to your body, your emotions, your behaviors, while remaining open to feedback from those who care about you. Now, I'm going to say here, so when I talk about people getting defensive, recognizing the signs of burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a testament to your self-awareness and a commitment to a healthy lifestyle, right? And by healthy lifestyle, like quote unquote, that can be whatever it means to you. It can be a whole host of things. It can mean that you have energy. It can mean that you can think clearly and can get your work done. I mean, there's a whole lot of things wrapped up in that. What does having a healthy lifestyle mean to you? It certainly isn't being burnt the freak out, right? Okay. So I mentioned earlier that I had shared my personal story with burnout. And now that I've told you, I've helped define what burnout is and how to look for some of the signs. I want to tell you my story. Again, a little more on the vague side, but you'll get the gist and you'll be able to point out some of these things that we've just talked about. So my personal experience with burnout. I recently shared it on Instagram, and it took me a bit to actually hit the send on the post, right? It's a challenge to be that vulnerable, but my story may resonate with you or with someone you know, and that can be what helps to turn a situation around. So a project manager, so you all know I'm a project manager. That's my career, right? A project manager is integral. It's an integral part of the team. We help people stay connected and solve problems. It's imperative that team members can come to us when they need something, or if something has gone wrong, or, any number of things regarding a project. Now, imagine for a moment that, you're the project manager and someone tells you, hey, your attitude sucks. And you're also bringing down the whole team. Let that sit for a moment, right? So this actually happened to me. It was one of the worst days of my professional career. Someone actually sat me down and told me some variation of this. It's been years, but again, you get the gist. As I sat there and let it sink in, I didn't know what to say. I started to cry and cry. I literally kept crying. I could not stop crying. It was like once that faucet turned on, I could not stop. The person who was relaying the information to me, I believe, got a little uncomfortable with the amount of crying I was doing, and so eventually, let me just have my time. Get your tears out. But part of the tears, part of the pain that I was feeling was because of how horrible it felt to hear this when I'd been spending a lot of time and overtime trying to make sure we were delivering for a client. And partly because it was a lot of pent up negative energy that started to release. And again, facet, once it turned on, it didn't want to stop. It also didn't feel good to hear this because I had always been complimented on my optimistic attitude and my ability to lift people and teams up. So, how did it come to this sucky attitude dragging down the team? Burnout, right? So, did any of that resonate with what was above? When I defined it, right? Having some cynicism or negativity towards your job, being able to, I just lost my train of thought on that one, but you get the idea. So now, after 2 previous stints of overworking due to staff shortages, and then months of overserving an undeserving client and trying to help the team through the process, including listening to their complaints, because let's be honest, I wasn't the only one complaining, right? I wasn't the only one trying to process all of this. I wasn't the only one getting burned out. My stress level escalated through the roof. My attitude tanked. Pretty typical in burnout. So I mentioned this was one of the worst days of my career. I felt awful. But it was also, when I talk about feedback, people getting defensive but still needing to hear the message, it was also a turning point. That was me. Someone finally sat me down. Now, could they have sat me down earlier? Yes. But once they finally did, it was like an instant holy shit moment. And that was why I had all those tears. Now, I did have a lot of questions up front, right? How could an employer wait so long before stepping in? How, could one ignore the signs or wait until that got that severe, right? But I also had to find out why I had fallen onto the burnout path. It caused me to get curious as to how to get back to normal. And this was then. This is my I guess you could call this my origin story of being a health coach, right? So then I started to dig into all the things around what is a healthy lifestyle. What was I doing that I thought was a healthy lifestyle? Nutrition, working out, right? But I wasn't doing the rest of it, the holistic part of it. I wasn't tapping into mindfulness and giving myself breaks. And I was just eating, pushing the clean food, making sure I was eating good, I was eating great, but the effort it took to get there. And then, of course, then making the time to go to the gym, whenever I could, and all this, fitting it all in. You get the idea. So again, that is my high level experience with burnout, if you want to take it that way. So, but it's also like once somebody shone the light for me, then I was able to see and make changes. So let's talk about how to break out from burnout and get back to normal. Or better yet, if you're not burned out yet, how to avoid burnout altogether. So the question becomes, how do we escape the clutches of burnout? Breaking out from burnout is a transformative journey. And I'm excited to share my personal approach. It's grounded in 6 pillars that have proven to be game changers in my own life and the lives of those I have coached. So I'm going to walk you through, again, at a fairly high level, what I coach my clients on. May seem like a lot. There are 2 keys to keep in mind. 1, it's all about taking care of you. That is the core of it. Regardless of how you do, it's about taking care of you. Oh, we should put that on a shirt. Regardless of how you do, it's about taking care of you. So the second point is take it one step at a time. If you're already stressed the freak out, making radical change isn't going to do you any favors, right? It's not likely to help anything. Now, unless you are like totally incapacitated because of it, and it happens, you might have to completely remove yourself from a situation. That's not the people that I usually work with. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And then, yes, you do have to make a radical change because you've got to get out of that situation. But for most of us, You do not want to be making all this radical change. You want to slowly step into it. Okay. So, and I like to say one habit, one day, 1 week at a time. So the first is mindset. Okay. Mindset is your captain of the ship. It helps you to steer the course of your journey, impacts your overall well-being, right? And it helps you, if you're in the right mindset, then you will be more likely to take action. And if you're not, then you're not, right? So a positive mindset is not just a luxury. It's a powerful tool for stress reduction and improved health. When you approach challenges with a growth mindset, viewing them as opportunities for learning and development, the impact on your stress level is profound. It's about rewriting your thought patterns to foster resilience and navigate the stormy seas of stress with confidence, right? So that's a little bit of a metaphor for you, right? You kind of get the picture. Stormy seas, very what I think of as burnout feels like. Okay, the next pillar is sleep. Do not underestimate the power of a good night's sleep. And not just like hours, quality sleep, the kind of sleep where you wake up and you know you slept, like you woke up feeling refreshed. You're ready to partay for the day. Getting quality sleep. Sleep plays a pivotal role in your cognitive function and your physical recovery. One of the things that I like to coach my clients on is establishing a bedtime routine, creating a sleep-friendly environment, honoring your body's natural circadian rhythms. These are all fundamental steps in ensuring quality sleep. And again, it's one of the foundations that all the pillars begin to stand on. That's why it's the second thing that I coach on. Mindset is first. These are in the order I typically coach in, depending on where a person is at. But mindset and then sleep. And the third is stress management, because we've been all up in our sympathetic nervous system and our fight or flight. We need to mitigate that. We need to bring it down. So yeah, stress is inevitable, especially when you're an ambitious professional. The key is having an effective management plan, tools, techniques that you can use to help you manage and mitigate that stress. Just like a project needs a well thought out plan, your stress needs a strategy. So from mindfulness practices to breathing exercises, meditation, even enjoying a simple cup of tea, right? Like it can be profound in your management of stress, right? Just finding some quiet, just sitting still for a bit. So the key is here experimenting and discovering and incorporating stress management into your daily routine. So again, mindset, sleep, and stress management, these are the first areas that I have my clients go through. When I hit burnout, these are the areas I wasn't paying much attention to. And when I started to get out of burnout, I started adding in yoga, mind-body connection exercises, right? And then got into breathing. So for me, these are the core, because I know I was ignoring them. But it doesn't mean they're the only. So the next then is your nutrition, right? Fueling your body with nourishing food is more than just a health fad, okay? It's not just paleo. It's not just, Whole30. It's not just, there's the other one I was thinking of. Wow, words. The fat one, when you're using fat to burn fat. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. I can see it like starting to form, just can't form it in my mouth. So that's okay. But when you explore a balanced diet, emphasizing whole foods that provide sustained energy, this is a strategy to combat burnout. Burnout is, your sympathetic nervous system. It's messing with your cortisol. It's messing with your hormones. It's messing with all kinds of things. And it's also messing with your digestion because of that. And so when you can start to focus on foods that help to nourish your body, that help to heal your body, that's when you're stopping you're beginning to stop. You're reducing, I guess, I don't know, the food that is creating more stress in your body. So when you're eating foods that aren't good for the processed foods, sugars, all those things create more stress in your body. And so the whole idea of eating nourishing whole foods is helping to provide that sustained energy and healing for the body. Okay, next up is movement. So physical activity is not just about hitting the gym. It's about finding joy in movement so that you will move your body more often. Could be a dance class, a nature hike, a quick stretch at your desk. I mean, that can make a huge difference if you're starting to feel sleepy at your desk or like you can't think. Our bodies are made to move, not just sit at a desk for hours on end. Movement is the medicine for the body and mind. When I'm sitting at my desk for, I got calls back to back to back to back to back. When I got back from my trip from Dallas, literally solid calls. In between, I'd get up and I'd take a quick walk. So I like to schedule my meetings to end 5 minutes early, and then I'll take a quick walk to help get the blood flowing, to help, get me some different, get out from my computer, but also to move my body. The next then is workflow. So streamlining your workflow so you are working smarter, not harder. Identifying your priorities, delegating tasks, embracing tools that enhance efficiency. So it's not about doing more, right? But it's getting more done and doing what matters most. Period. The next one, I was already reading ahead to my notes. Boundaries. Oh my gosh, boundaries, right? Huge in making sure that you have the mental space to step away from work and think about other things and then show back up, right? Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as they say. So boundary setting. Boundaries are not restrictions. They may feel like restrictions if you're not used to telling people no, but they are safeguards for your well-being. So if you can reframe that, boundaries are not restrictions. They are safeguards for your well-being. As ambitious professionals, we're not superheroes. I like to think I'm a superhero, but I don't have superhero time. I don't have superhero energy, right? Like there are limitations. When you can learn to say no when necessary and set realistic expectations and delegate when you can and create a support system around you. And final one, carving out time for self-care without guilt. This then starts to give you more time, more space so that you can focus on those things that you need to, namely starting with you, right? All right. And one of the last ones, certainly not the last ever that I coach on, but I wanted to pull out kind of the key ones. Finding joy. Finding joy is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It's the compass that guides you towards a life filled with purpose and passion, whether it's a hobby, time with loved ones, a moment of solitude, right? Prioritize what brings you joy. My 15 minutes in the morning, breathing, stretching, walking, that feels good to me. That is my joy. That's how I start my day, every work day. And then I get plenty of yoga on Saturday, and Sundays are kind of a rest day, but there's a workout in there. But on those weekdays when I'm getting up, that is the best way to start my day. One other thing I'll add, breaking free from burnout is not a one-size-fits-all journey. It's about integrating pieces from these pillars based on your unique lifestyle, creating a robust foundation for a thriving and sustainable future, right? If for me, starting to focus on sleep makes sense, great, I will focus on sleep. If for you, you're already getting the sleep, you're feeling rested, right? We don't have to hone in. We might pull a few levers around sleep, but we won't focus as much if you feel like you're getting what you need from sleep. Maybe we can spend more effort focusing in some of the other areas. But it's always good to kind of do the rundown and make sure, am I really good in the sleep department or any of the departments? Am I really good? or are there ways to optimize? So, wow, we covered a lot today. Feels like a lot, but it is an important topic. And so I wanted to make sure to give it its due justice, right? Its due time. And it's imperative that you can recognize the signs of burnout in yourself, but also in your friends and your colleagues, right? Then you have to have the tools. You have to have the support so that you can break out from burnout. It could be, again, a coach like me, could be a therapist, could be your work team, a friend or social group, your family. There's lots of options. Finding those ones that are safe to talk to, ones that you can actually strategize a way out of it and not just it's great to have empathy, but we don't want commiserators, right? We don't need to fan the flames of burnout with co-misery, if you will. So this process, at least this high level bird's eye view of the process, is what I coach my clients through in my Energy to Thrive project coaching membership. So if you are ready to break out from burnout or to prepare to prevent it, let me know. You can schedule a consult call with me on my website, uplifthealthylifestyle.com. Click the pink button in the upper right called Energy Optimization Session. I would love to learn about you and what you're going through. If you think you're in burnout or want to learn how to prevent it, and then share my program and how it might be able to help you. I think it would be a great discussion for both of us. Now, of course, I cannot leave you without your energizing habit for the week, right? It's that one simple action to start moving towards your transformation. Embrace the power of a simple morning ritual. Start your day with intention and energy. Now, I'm not saying you have to adopt my 15-minute breath, stretch, move, right? For you, it might just be breathe, right? Just focus on your breath, 10 breaths. Could be just have a moment while you're sipping your tea, your coffee, your warm water. The key is to start small wherever you are and whatever feels like a moment of joy for your morning, okay? A few other examples, if you need them, you could set some positive affirmations before you get out of bed, or you could jot down 3 things that you're grateful for as you're waking up. The morning ritual is your anchor, grounds you in the present moment, and sets a positive tone for the day ahead. This is why my 15-minute routine gives me joy as I'm getting ready to go off and start my workday. All right. That, my friends, is all I have for you now. If you found this episode helpful, if you found that you now have a better understanding of what burnout is or how you can start to mitigate it, or at least where you can go for some support, I want to hear from you. Do me a favor, like the episode wherever you are. Take a screenshot of it and tag me in your Instagram stories at Uplift Healthy Lifestyle. I would love to hear how this episode, this information on burnout and some options, some tools for you to start breaking free. Would love to hear how it's starting to impact your health and wellness journey. So again, that's what I have for you. Have an energized day.